Hey, how's it going, everyone? What would retiring with $800,000 invested into dividend stocks look like? But the real question is, will $800,000 be enough to be a part of the bourgeoisie, which is a French term given to the middle class that were above the peasants, but way below the nobles? So in modern day terms, you wouldn't be the richest guy on the block, but you would, in theory, live a very comfortable lifestyle as a retired guy. So comfortable, in fact, you would hang out butt naked in the gym locker room after your showers. And you justify talking to people with your balls in their face because you prefer to air dry your Johnson. I don't know what it is, but every community fitness center has that guy. And by the way, this is part 3 in this retirement series. If you're curious about retiring off of $200,000 or even $500,000, well, then what are you waiting for? This is your sign to go ahead and watch the other ones. Speaking of signs, I am so embarrassed to say, as an older millennial, there's a huge chunk of my peers that dedicate important decision making based on astrology signs or on how the moon looks that particular evening. Such as, I'm gonna have to divorce you because our signs are incompatible. You are a Gemini and I am a Scorpio. Or the stars are telling me that I must cheat on my husband tonight. It's modern day witchcraft, I tell ya. But getting back on topic, my call out is that during retirement, I wouldn't necessarily focus on dividend compounders with cheese. In lieu, I would make the necessary sales and concentrate my portfolio into high dividend yielding income companies. With that said, the companies we are full throttle investing with 800 grand will be number 1, Altria. They're in the business of nicotine. Number 2 is going to be Cisco. They're one of the older tech companies that are around and they just acquired Spunk. And number 3 is going to be UPS. They are a complete logistics company that will eventually be acquired by Amazon or merge with FedEx. That's just my opinion. And last but not least will be UWMC. They're in the business of wholesale mortgages. And broken down, I tried to expose most of the 800K towards the higher dividend yield choices, which meant 50% of it into Altria, 25% of it into UWMC, and 15% into UPS, and last but not least, 10% into Cisco. Honestly, if I was crazy, I would have put all 800K into Altria for that 8.5% dividend yield. But that's just too risky, kind of like proposing and marrying the first woman to not reject you. Funny enough, I've seen it happen time and time again. When a good, honest man is shown kindness for the first time by a woman, he falls head over heels for her. But I can't say that I blame or judge him. But isn't that strange? As men, we are given the bare minimum of affection and kindness. As children or as young boys, we are shown patience, love, and gratitude. But as we get older, men are all expected to suffer in silence and to just be a man, despite the burden we may be carrying. So hey, if you haven't heard it recently, then you're hearing it from me on this finance YouTube channel. You are appreciated, my friend. Keep up the good work, despite the noise and negativity that's surrounding you. Your contribution to this earth matters. Now, let's go ahead and look at the numbers that you care about. So the dividend yield was about 6.6%. The annual dividend payout was around $53,000, and the monthly dividend payout would be about $4,400. So on surface level, I would say that things look pretty good. My first job coming out of college was a second lieutenant in the Army, and my full compensation was just shy of about $49,000 a year. I would say it was good money back then. And despite inflation, to see a number like $50,000 in dividends, it's pretty exciting. But let's talk about the tax implications. At $53,000 a year in dividends, those qualified dividend payments would be taxed at a rate of 0% if you're married. But depending on your local state and regulations, you might have to pay some taxes. And if you're not married, well, that's okay because it would be taxed at a rate of 15%. Which isn't the end of the world. But think about it like this. $53,000 in dividends as retirement money when almost all of your big purchase items are paid off means you'll probably get to eat out more often, which means your favorite place to hang out in the mornings will be at your local Cracker Barrel with a cup of coffee. Not exactly a bad way to start the day. And by the way, Cracker Barrel stock is absolutely beaten up badly, but my opinion is still the same when I made a video on them last year. I'm still bearish on the company because their image and name is pretty outdated for 2024. Although I would argue their menu and country fried steak, it's amazing. I like what they offer, but it is what it is. The consumer preferences show that Cracker Barrel isn't as popular as it used to be. And by the way, what you see on your screen right now is a character named Matthew the Tax Collector from the TV show called The Chosen. Religious or not, if you're looking for a show you can binge watch tonight or sometime this week, check it out. You can watch The Chosen for free online because it's a crowd-funded series. And I think the story is super relevant, especially for today when all of this hate and division is happening all around the world. But people hate it when I get all political. So here's the thing. If we don't touch the principal amount, which is the initial $800,000, then those dividends should grow and pay out more every year. And no, we won't be adding any more money into this hypothetical portfolio, and we won't reinvest the dividends. You might think as a result it's going to be a hot mess, but in 20 years, the annual dividend payout is just shy of $99,000 a year, and the final valuation would be $1.4 million. Now, I do want to call out, I used the most conservative bearish numbers, and these numbers were calculated and based on a 3% share appreciation rate year over year and a 3% dividend growth rate annually, meaning the dividend payout would grow at a rate of 3%. Realistically and most likely, I think the share appreciation rate, especially for like Cisco and UPS, the share appreciation rate would be closer to 8% a year, and the dividend growth rate would be 4%. But in calculating numbers for my time as a manager in corporate America, I always thought it was better to play it safe than to paint a beautiful picture out of your butt. Which is ironic because in real life, I'm a pretty optimistic and hopeful kind of guy. However, when it comes to my numbers, calculations, and forecasts, I try to be cynical with the data. So a little fun fact about me is that as a leader, I have always appreciated the voice of reason, aka the bearish numbers from a subordinate or a team member to help the plans and to poke holes in my proposal rather than to be surrounded by yes men. On the other hand, if your lady asks you if she looks fat in her dress on this Saturday evening, it's okay to say no. It's not worth the argument. Just say, no, you look fantastic, beautiful, pretty. On the flip side, if I decided to go crazy and YOLO all 800 grand into Altria, then this is what we would be looking at. On year one, the annual dividend payout would be about $70,000. And by the end of 20 years, well, then we're looking at $155,000 a year in dividends from Altria. And then again, I honestly don't have that much conviction to go all in on one single company, unless it's Berkshire Hathaway or an index fund like SCHD or VU or VTI. But of course, this is just for fun and a hypothetical, so I wanted to show you what would happen if you just go balls deep into Altria. So to answer the original question, can I retire with $800,000 invested into dividend stocks? The monthly dividend payout was about $4,400 a month, right? Well, with that kind of monthly dividend payment, I don't know about you, but I would be a happy camper. Actually, more than happy, because how I see it is, in retirement, almost everything will be paid off. I alluded to this conclusion earlier, but let me elaborate. Your home, your cars, your mail order bride from the Philippines, any big toys or gadgets or hobbies, it's most likely paid off. So with a majority of expenses out of the way, it means I would have a chance to finally shop at Whole Foods and to buy the good underwear instead of buying the 10-pack from Walmart. Speaking of which, Whole Foods is out of their mind for charging $10 a pound for bananas or even $8 for a bag of apples. I think Whole Foods is crazy. Call me white trailer trash with small nipples, but I would rather just grocery shop at Walmart for the time being. I mean, of course, I care about my health and I would rather buy organic groceries, but not when they cost more than my childhood dreams. I am so sorry, I am all over the place. So to answer the question, could you retire with $800,000 invested into dividends? Well, it's the same answer for the question, was Mr. Rogers a minister? Yes. Yes, he was. That's a fun fact. Mr. Rogers was a pastor who chose to do his ministry on television for children. I grew up in the 90s, and Mr. Rogers was my go-to show as a young child. I feel like he had a huge role and contribution in my upbringing, and as a result, I'm grateful for the man. If you want to watch a movie that'll bring a tear to your eye, then check out A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. It's a movie that came out in 2019, and it stars Tom Hanks as Fred Rogers. I think it's a pretty good movie, but don't take my word for it. Look it up on Rotten Tomatoes. It currently has a 95% rating. So it's definitely worth the watch, especially if you're in a bad mood. But getting back on topic for the 20th time, if you're cynical and think $50,000 in dividends is not enough, well, to that I say, with how the dividends grow year after year, I think it's going to be more than enough to cover inflation. And the best part is, you won't have to sell any shares. Check this out, right? Year one, we're kind of looking at $54,000. But as you fast forward, look at year 5, it's going to be $61,000 in dividends. And by the time we get to year 11, we're going to be paid $73,000 in dividends, which is equivalent to the American median household income. And I guess in 11 years, the median household income is probably going to be bumped up to like $77,000 or $78,000. And I say that because wages don't grow as fast as inflation. So when I think about inflation and the dividend income growing annually, if the cost of milk balloons up to $10 a gallon again, you'll have more than enough to buy that milk. And I'm going to be honest with you, when inflation got really bad a year or two ago, I stopped buying certain grocery items. I just straight up eliminated it from my diet. I'm one of those weird people that saw how the price of eggs went up too much, and one day I just said, no thanks, I'm just not going to get it. I went on a hunger strike, and I wouldn't recommend that to anyone else. But if I were overweight, I think it would be a good opportunity to save some money and lose weight. All right, I hear you. Maybe you're not a believer and you're still thinking to yourself that $50,000 is not enough. So if we backtrack to year 1 with those $50,000 in dividends, it's enough to live in comfort if you settle down in a low cost of living area. However, if you're trying to survive in Seattle or San Francisco, it's going to be a rough time wearing the same brown-stained underwear for 5 days in a row. But if we're talking about the South or the Midwest, like Ohio, Indiana, or Illinois, you'll be eating out at Texas Roadhouse once a week. Easy peasy. Think about it like this. An average American family consisting of a husband and wife with 2 young kids make do with about $4,000 a month. What you see on your screen right now is that depiction with their realistic expenses. Now, granted, they're about 28 years old, and when you retire, you're going to be closer to 50 or 60 years old. So your retirement expenses will look different because you won't need to buy diapers for $60 a month. Unless, of course, that's your thing and you enjoy wearing them for fun because your butthole accumulates a lot of sweat and you like how the diapers soak it all up. All right, that's just a very gross imagery in my head. Moving right along. This is not financial advice, but if it were me with $800,000 invested into those dividend stocks, I would most likely buy a house in year 1 with the dividend income and by staying another year at my miserable job to get approved for a mortgage with that salary. Let's go ahead and take a look at this home that I found in the Midwest. All right, so check this out. I found a home that is about 1,100 square feet that has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths for $79,000 in St. Joseph, Missouri. And I know right now it's pending for a sale, but let's look at it, right? Because for $79,000, when you break that down, your mortgage payment is probably going to be about $500 all in, including the insurance and utilities. And here's the thing about this house. It's a turnkey, meaning it's ready to move in. You don't have to do major fixes or renovations in order to be a livable habitat. And the best part is it comes with central AC. Okay, let's just take a look at this, right? I'm not a real estate investor, but I love browsing Zillow for fun. I'm not gonna lie to you, the house does not look exactly the greatest from the outside, but it looks cozy, right? It looks manageable. What I'm trying to say is that the house is small and big enough for a person in retirement to take care of properly. Like, what's the point of living in a 4,000 square feet house if the rooms are just gonna accumulate dust everywhere? All right, so the kitchen looks okay. It has hardwood floors. This must be the dining room. That's probably the front entrance. There's a bathroom. I guess that's the staircase to the upstairs. This is the upstairs. It looks pretty nice. I like it so far. Like, this would be a perfect YouTube studio. And it looks like the upstairs does indeed have carpet. This must be the staircase for the basement. Okay, so the basement looks like a scene out of a horror movie. It's kind of creepy and freaky looking, but it's because the house is over 100 years old. This must be the bathroom in the basement. Looks kind of small, but it looks like it does the job. This must be the master bedroom. It comes with 2 closets, and I don't know what that is. We'll just say it's the living room. This is the laundry room, I'm guessing. It's not bad. Me personally, I don't think I could ever move to Missouri. But when we talk about the cost of living and how affordable things must be in Missouri, this looks okay. Please let me know. Do you know anything about St. Joseph, Missouri? Is this a good or a bad place to be? Believe it or not, I actually prefer dividend investing because it's one of the most passive ways to make passive income. That does not mean that I'm turned off by real estate investing. It's just I'm not a real estate investor for the time being. Anyways, before you walk away, please hear me out and listen. Do not hoard your money. If you have enough, help out, donate, and do stuff with your money while you're still alive. Yes, this is a shout out to the Ron Reed janitor millionaire story. I'm not knocking on Ron Reed. He lived his life the way he wanted to, and he donated his money to the causes that he believed in, which I think is honorable because he had an altruistic heart. However, not everyone has that same kind of warm heart. In fact, there are people every year that pass away with saving all of their money and never spending any to really enjoy life. And here's the thing, I promise you're not at church, but when you're gone, you're going to be gone. Unless you believe in karma and being reincarnated as a cockroach in your next life. But the point that I'm trying to make is that not a single dollar will go with you when you pass away. So do with that what you will. Money should be a tool we use to optimize life and to help others. Money should not be the goal. That should not be the end result. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if money is what you live for, your life will be miserable. When I was making 6 figures as a director in a Fortune 20 company, I was absolutely miserable. And now I'm poor, but I'm absolutely happy because I get to do what I love to do. So if you're anything like me, if money is what you live for, then your life will be miserable. Okay, I promise, I'm done preaching to the choir here. So just keep in mind, when your time is up on earth, your money won't go with you. So enjoy your one given life while you can. Please. So if $800,000 is your retirement number, I'll tell you, it's probably my new goal number as well. Some people think you need like $3 million or whatever to retire properly. And from what I saw in the numbers and data, a fraction of that will be more than enough for me. $50,000 a year in dividends, happy camper. So here I am today. After doing this video, I'm actually thinking that $800,000 invested into dividends is enough to press the FIRE button. Financial independence, retire early. And by the way, just a random call out from me. Please do not judge a person's ability based on their voice. I got a comment the other day from a hater, and he basically doubted my intellectual capacity and professional resume because my voice is higher than the average man. And he was really offended at the fact that I sprinkle humor into my videos. That's why in this video, I toned it down a bit. And when I read his comment, I'm gonna be honest, I was taken aback. And then I reminded myself, there's a lot of angry people on the internet, and yes, he was a hater of the dividend methodology. So he was watching my video with a biased opinion of thinking that dividend investing is inferior from the get-go. So nothing that I said was going to be relevant for him. He kind of reminded me of those Biden supporters who think they're better than everyone else because they lean left. Funny enough, their wife's boyfriend is probably a Trump guy. And in case you don't get it, that was a joke. Please don't get upset. Anyways, that's my encouragement to you. Do not let the little things get you all bent out of shape today or this week. The only thing we can truly control in this world is our inner dialogue and attitude. If you choose to be the bigger person and choose peace, who cares what someone else thinks, right? With that said, stay hydrated and stay safe, folks. I'll talk to you next time.